President Tinubu is saying to you, you are the future of Nigeria. Continue to dream big. Do his programs and policies inspire you to dream big? Peter?
No, they do not. And I have had that statement for far too long, to continue to dream big. Thank you for having me, but let us state clearly that once Nigeria stops to glorify mediocre and incompetence in leadership, then we will begin to make progress. Because it is said that repeating the same action and expecting a different result is insanity. As a young person, when I see governance and the way political office holders conduct themselves, my belief is that Nigeria is being run by businessmen, political businessmen who see the country as cities, as customers for their personal trade, and not people who are necessarily viable for good leadership. Because it is unfortunate that 65 years after independence and 26 years after democracy, these are the same kinds of tales we hear. If the president is truly interested in laying or building a country that works for people, it is not about handing out cash or handing out bailouts or whatever to the youth. As my colleague rightly said, the issues of youth are the issues of Nigeria. Youth do not exist in a vacuum. We have families, we have mothers, we have siblings. The strength of every democratic nation is in the strength of its institutions. And we must move away from these plethoras of talks about trying to lay a foundation for 65 years. How long does it take to lay a foundation and then we build on it? The strength is supposed to be the strength of our institutions. And when I look at the President Tinubu administration, two things come to mind and I'll quickly tell you. Number one, the action of the president on the state of Rivers State. This is not talking about whether the declaration of a state of emergency was right or wrong, but I want to point out how the institutions are crumbling under this administration that claims to be helping the youth. The presidency woke up and suspended a duly elected governor and swore in a sole administrator before the National Assembly ratified. The National Assembly, that is supposed to be the hallmark of a democracy for checks and balances, decided to ratify with a voice vote and setting aside the necessary two-third majority that should have voted. And then the judiciary, that is supposed to be the last hope of the uncommon man, for 6 months was unable to sit and look at how legal or legitimate was the declaration. So across board, in a country that wants to produce a society viable for the youth, we are seeing executive, legislative and judicial recklessness and irresponsibility. So for me, I think that it is more of talk and less of action. And secondly, the president talked about removing the corrupt oil subsidy. The problem with the subsidy regime in Nigeria that should have benefited the youth was not just subsidy, it was the corruption in the subsidy regime. Can President Tinubu come out and state clearly how much exactly have I saved from May 29, 2023 to today, October 2025? Imagine a British Prime Minister or a US President taking a serious reform as removal of subsidy, and the citizens do not know exactly how much was saved. So if you say fuel subsidy was corrupt and you took it out, and Nigerians do not know how much exactly was saved, where it is being reinvested to, how it is plugged into affecting the lives of the youth and other citizens, then it is decentralization of corruption. We should not be talking about increasing allocation to politicians or governors without accountability. So if there is no transparency and accountability in governance and a deliberate attempt to strengthen the institutions, what are the hopes of the youth or the young persons? The only way that President Tinubu can prove that he truly loves the youth is ensuring that we have an electoral process that is seamless, that is credible, where young people who have the character and the capacity can vie for positions without violence and without being, witch hunted, and get into the system to become the leaders of today, because tomorrow we are talking about is today that we are talking. So I think it is mischievous to have good talks and then we see direct actions that undermine the integrity of our institutions and the capacity of citizens to live as decent human beings in a democracy.
Then why are Nigerian youths not showing up as they ought to in the political space? Because when you consider that the crop of leaders that have ruled in the past rose to national prominence in their 30s or in their 40s. So is it a challenge of not showing up, or is it that the political space is limiting for Nigerian youths? Peter, I'd like you to take that.
Thank you very much. I think the answer is obvious. You know, President Tinubu praises himself as one of the supporters of the June 12th mandate, the MKO Abiola, struggle, which of course was premised around free and fair elections. And today the system has become, 30 years later, we cannot have leaders who will come out and commit to a process that will be free, fair, credible, and peaceful. Do you know that in 2023, in the home state of the president, and this is on record and reported, citizens were physically beaten out of polling units in Lagos State for looking like a certain tribe? And if that is not an issue to political actors and leaders, then there is high-level mischief. It is not about the youth not wanting to be part of it. It is a deliberate attempt at making the process become so violent and become so difficult that not only the youth, even persons of decent character and integrity will rather stay away. And that is why you hear the usual slogan, politics is a dirty game. Today, women are struggling to have, compensated seats in the Senate or in the parliament. Why? Because they believe that the process has become too rigorous for people who are non-violent or want to maintain a peaceful disposition to sail through. If you look at the entertainment sector, for example, where the youth took charge of that industry and have made a fortune out of something that was almost nothing without little or no support from the government, it then means that given the opportunity, Nigerian youth have proven to be ingenious and enterprising and ready to take every opportunity. But then you see a government that sets a not too young to run bill into place, and then the cost of the nomination form is about 100 million. So you are not too young to run, but you are also too poor to run. So across boards, it is not a matter of just paying lip service to these issues. If President Tinubu is interested in the welfare of the youth, no population will grow by handing out handouts. Since from presidents before Tinubu, even the Buhari administration, we had the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Hajia Umaru Sadiq. They said we were doing conditional cash transfers. How much and how many persons were pulled out of poverty? The Minister of Finance recently made a pronunciation that almost 400 billion have been distributed to about 30 million Nigerians. And my dear sister and my brother in the studio, how many persons do you know that benefited, or have you received your own share of that? Nigerians will not move forward through handouts. It is through policies that are going to enable persons of integrity and character to get into the system. And that is what Nigerians must insist on. Because as it is today, the National Assembly that should carry out checks and balances have become almost an extension of the presidency. It is the APC town hall where the president is greeted with his political mantra. The judiciary has proven that it has become the last hope of the uncommon man. So it is up to Nigerians to come together, mobilize, and insist that the right thing be done, and we the youth will not be waiting to be given the opportunity, but take up the leadership and insert ourselves into the equation.
And indeed the engagement has begun here, but hopefully it continues beyond this platform to other platforms.